Awesome. Well, Jan, thanks so much for joining us. Super excited to have you here. You are the Senior Director of Digital Ecosystems at GE Healthcare. I'll kind of give you a quick background on myself so you know who this random person who reached out to you to want to talk to you is. I am an emergency medicine physician in Houston, Texas, and in addition to practicing clinical medicine, I have an interest in improving healthcare. And in the United States, obviously, there's lots of issues with it. Something passionate to me is inequities in healthcare and the cost problem as well. And through that passion, I've kind of looked at solutions, and I feel like technology is a big part of that. And so whether that's blockchain, whether that's improving the efficiency of EMRs or telehealth, all of that's interesting to me. And obviously, AI has been kind of front and center for a while now, but especially the last year or so, when you turn on any news channel or look at any article, it's all about AI and how it intersects with various aspects of society. And so that's how I got interested when it comes to AI in healthcare. And obviously, I personally feel like I'm using LinkedIn more than like Instagram and TikTok. So maybe that says something about my age now, but I ran into a lot of your content, and definitely you are a thought leader in this space. So I really appreciate the chance to talk with you. And one of the things that, all the amazing posts and everything you post, one of the kind of things in your bio is that healthcare needs AI because it needs the human touch. So I'd like to start there. What does that mean to you? And we can start there.
No, I mean, look, thank you very much, first of all, for reaching out and inviting me to this. And why healthcare needs AI? Maybe, I don't know if you have time, but I would like to do a step back if that's possible always. And right, maybe talk a little bit about what are the problems we want to solve with, right, those novel technologies such as AI in healthcare. And I just brought with me a couple of interesting data points, and hopefully you find them interesting. Look, one of the first things, and you experience this in the US, we see this across the globe, in Europe, in the UK, for instance, a pressing problem is the workforce shortage, right? I'll talk about this in a second a bit. But before this, right, and also maybe things like quality of healthcare, I come to this in a few minutes, but one of the things which we have to deal with in the healthcare space, which is both like a big challenge today, but also a huge opportunity, is this massively growing amount of data we have in the healthcare industry, right? I mean, just picture this. Today, it takes on average just like 73 days to double all medical data, right? Just like close to 3 months, and then all world's medical data is doubled. There are 6,000 medical journals out there publishing 900,000 articles a year. For a dermatologist, for instance, right, to keep up with dermatology literature, they would need to read 11,000 publications a year. In primary care, I mean, picture this. A GP would need to read for 21 hours each and every day to keep up with primary care literature. As you probably know, there is more information in a mammogram than there is in the telephone book of New York. I mean, even if I don't know if there's still like a physical telephone book. And it's not uncommon that such a mammography image is 1 gigabyte in size. Yeah. As we just talk about medical imaging, a radiologist, for instance, in a 12-hour shift is looking at 50,000 images compared to just 500 15 years ago. Yeah. So what I want to say with all this always is there is this really this explosion of data, right, in every facet in our lives. So in healthcare, with really no end in sight. And look, what we also need to clearly, let's say, acknowledge is the fact that when we talk about healthcare data, is that only 3% of this healthcare data is really used to generate actual insights. 97% of our healthcare data is kind of sitting untouched, unharnessed, unleveraged. And this sheer mass of data, this treasure as well, right, is largely just a cost and does nothing to improve quality and efficiency. Yeah. So this is just one thing. Data, right, a huge opportunity, today more a huge challenge. And right, this will lead to answering your question in a minute or two, why we need healthcare and why we need this human touch. But before this, as I mentioned earlier, just briefly talking about quality, and here talking about medical errors. You probably know there are 40 million medical errors each and every year. And in Europe, actually, it is estimated that up to 350,000 patients die every year due to medical errors, which is, I mean, for us in Europe, the population of a city like Cordoba or Venice in Italy or Toulouse in France, right? So pretty a huge number, actually. For every 100 hospitalizations per year, 14 adverse events occur. Yeah, so also something where I believe with technologies that like AI, we can make an impact in that space. And then last but not least, right, mentioned earlier, the shortage of healthcare professionals. Globally today, the shortage is about 7 million, right, healthcare professionals missing. And in 2035, it is estimated that 14 million healthcare professionals will be missing due to retirements and not enough young people entering the space, right? Poor job satisfaction is, by the way, you probably could imagine, is also one issue here. And right, in addition to this, we see the demand is going up, of course, complexity is increasing, care pathways become more and more complex, and so on. So, and then, right, we have more issues, access to healthcare, right, beside quality, efficiency, cost, all growing problems. And as I mentioned, there is this digital data, which is, again, both today a challenge, but also a huge opportunity. So, right, and we have to do something. And there are a lot of players in the industry who do something in that space, who like leverage data, apply artificial intelligence technologies to get to meaningful outcomes. And to now come to answer your question, I think healthcare needs AI because, right, we need this human touch. I mean, it's a people business, it's a human touch business. And I think when those technologies are broadly adopted, that healthcare can benefit from this combination of like AI technologies and then like the human expertise and human empathy. I think AI has a huge potential to like free up valuable time of healthcare professionals by taking over those like repetitive, routine, mundane tasks, and hopefully helps providers in the future to spend more time on one side with their patients, right? Because this is what we really require in our industry. More face time with patients, more real time with patients, and not hiding behind a screen, trying to get information out of an EMR, for instance, or typing it in, but instead spending eye contact and time with the patients. But also get to more valuable, like let's say interdisciplinary relationships between healthcare professionals, right? I think this is something when there is a bit more capacity and bandwidth. This is what I mean when I say the human touch, right? So this is basically what I have in mind around this.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for, sharing that background and then kind of bringing it back to the human touch. One of my, personal kind of things where maybe I get burnout from is, maybe being in a patient room for 5 minutes and then coming out, and like you said, being on the phone and being on EMR and doing other, tasks where you're in that room for only 5 minutes, but that's why most of us went into medicine. And so I'm happy that that is something that you bring up, because for clinicians who focus on medicine, for the majority of the time, their fear and our fear is that these technologies are gonna take us away from the patient. But seeing maybe we could spend more time with the patient, maybe do the thing that we went into medicine for, is really good to hear. Healthcare in general, and rightly so, because it is, a very protected environment, very sacred environment, is slower to adapt newer technologies and, fully embrace things rapidly. They do it, but they do it with some time. Where do you see AI in that picture in terms of, where healthcare is right now? Are we in the kind of let's just kind of wait and see phase? Are we starting to get into the adaptation phase? If you could kind of give me an idea of where healthcare is compared to other sectors and other industries.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is a great follow-up question from your initial one, right? And keep in mind for this one as well, right? It's a people business, it's a human touch business. We impact patients, we impact people's lives, and all the technologies, not just AI, but everything we apply, right, and bring into healthcare settings, technologies that we expose to patients need to be safe, right? And there is no question about this. It has to be validated. It has to be safe. We need to be sure it doesn't harm the patient, right? So that's the ultimate, I don't know, North Star. That's the ultimate objective. So therefore, you're absolutely right. Healthcare has always been and is slow to adopt new technologies. When it comes to like digital technologies, including AI, I mean, there are, let's say, thought leaders out there who say, like, in the healthcare industry, we are 10 years behind other industries. And in some areas, this is very true, right? Thinking about your digital experience, for instance, in banking with your bank account, right? Or when you, I don't know, travel, right? Like when you have a flight, when you book a flight, when you check in, right? All those experiences are fully digital. And I think in healthcare, in the most countries, we are far away from this. Yeah, and this is the same with AI. I mean, it is very important, especially in this artificial intelligence space, that we develop, right, and deploy those technologies in an ethical way, right? I'm thinking about data privacy, minimizing bias, and really ensuring a rigorous validation. And this is really important. When we uphold those principles, this leads to like safe and accurate and equitable health outcomes for all. And therefore, I'm okay with the fact that we are a bit late, right? So there are definitely things which we can do better as an industry, right? As vendors, also as the regulatory bodies, to maybe adopt a bit quicker going forward to this very dynamic and vibrant field. But nevertheless, whatever we do, we have to make sure it's safe and we do not harm the patient.
Absolutely. And like you said, that is the North Star. So it's okay to be a little late as long as you do it right and do it with the kind of primary goals of medicine in mind. Switching gears a bit, so you obviously are at GE, and my exposure to GE and healthcare is usually through kind of devices. You'll see GE on the side of a CT scan machine, or I'll actually say my favorite ultrasound machine, the big one with a touchscreen to use in the ER, is a GE device. So you guys make some great products, but what is the role of GE when it comes to AI in healthcare?
Yeah. I mean, look, maybe I start with where we have started this artificial intelligence journey quite some time back. And you are totally right. Our, let's say, core business is medical imaging machines. Yeah, ultrasound. Actually, you should also give a try to our vScan Air, right? The handheld wireless ultrasound device. It's an amazing tool. You should definitely try this at some point. Computed tomography, right? CAT scanners, MRI machines, X-ray machines. And when we started, right, when this kind of technology started to evolve and was like available, we looked into, okay, how can we make our machine smarter? In the sense of how can we improve image quality, for instance, right? At the same time, maybe keep or reduce radiation to the patient. How can we reduce scan times? Yeah, so to make the patient experience better. So those kind of things. How can we improve, I don't know, the processes? So for the radiology techs, for instance, also when the patient is positioned on the MRI table to speed up things, to make it more efficient, to partially automate all this preparation. So this is where we started and made quite a good progress here over the last couple of years. But then what we also look into since a few years now is how can we leverage all this data, right? That's acquired during those different scans and apply AI on top of it for decision support, right? And when you look into the broad field of AI in healthcare in general, maybe one of the areas where we see the most development the last couple of years, the most investment, and also where we see the broadest adoption so far in clinical settings is decision support in radiology. Yeah. And what the industry does here is, right, applying, and I simplify, applying computer vision on medical images to segment, classify, detect, something that is relatively simple to do. Yeah. But we believe that there's much, much more value in two things. One is apply AI technologies to what I would call, right, in my example here, non-pixel, right? So in any kind of non-pixel data, unstructured, structured data that is not images. And then ultimately, and this is really, for me, the holy grail, how can we get, and maybe foundation models will be really the entry point to this. How can we get to multimodal AI? Yeah, in the sense of, I don't know, feed an AI model with a set of specific, I don't know, chest X-ray images. Yeah, but how can I really leverage a variety of different data sources and modalities of data, bring this together to get to a more, like, let's say, holistic perspective. So this is what we do by building a data aggregation platform. Yeah. So and look, what we see is there is, I mean, in the US, great examples with some of those large EMR vendors, right? Those monolithic systems where it's hard to innovate on, I would say, where it's expensive to integrate to, right? And it's just difficult to work with over time, right? And we believe maybe we need to, as an industry, need to rethink this model. And maybe shouldn't we invest more in like a more horizontal architecture, in the sense of, you have your different data sources, the lab information system, the PACS system in radiology, all those different subsystems, aggregate those data, right, from those different systems, and have open APIs, so that different apps, right, for a variety of different use cases and clinical workflows from the best of breed vendors can access this data and can be used in the hospital setting, instead of having this monolithic EMR system. And then when on this idea I'm just sharing, when there is an app for a specific, I don't know, emergency use case, when there's a better app or algorithm out there in 3 months or a year from now, it's just plug and play. You can remove this older app that you don't like anymore and can just get the new version, right? Best of breed, right? This is the principle I'm talking about. All based on a data aggregation, let's say, layer, right? That's fed by all those different data sources that exist. We don't want to duplicate data, but we want to bring it together so that the best technologies can leverage this data and make and get us from really just data to actionable insights at the end of the day. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is that like you mentioned, that would be the holy grail. Data is, as you know, is just so siloed, and it's so kind of, everyone's got their own data set. And even seeing something as basic as, did someone got a CT scan across the street from my hospital yesterday, and I want to refer to it and I can't. And that's just a simple thing that should, be automatic, but it's not. And so that's that level, that's like just the basic level, and then that gets magnified a million times over various data sets and various hospital systems and whatnot. And so any breaking down of those barriers and silos would be game changing. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
No, absolutely. And always, if I may, right, I didn't even talk about secondary use of data yet, right? So meaning, how can we leverage this massive amount of data we have, right? Initially, I mentioned it doubles every 73 days currently. How can we leverage this for research, yeah, to get to new, I don't know, technology and research breakthroughs, and really help over the long term improve healthcare as a whole. So this is definitely something we have to let's say, aim for, but always, again, right, I have to say this, having data privacy, safety in mind, but this is the way forward now.
Absolutely. And kind of piggybacking off of that, speaking of data, there's biases in medicine in every country, and that exists in the United States. And a lot of that is just based on, who was the research done on when we were working up, what a heart attack presents like, what the, typical is. As we, give data sets to these AI models, how do we and whose role is it to make sure that we are not giving it biased data so that these AI tools are then, giving us the same biased answers that we've been trying to break away from over the, last few decades?
Mhm. I mean, so yeah, it's a great question. And over the last couple of years, we as an industry have struggled quite a bit, and this will continue uh, in terms of amount of data. Yeah. When you, I mean, just as an example, when you, I don't know, work on self-driving cars, right? And you have to teach a car uh, the rules on street, right? Those street signs are pretty simple to label by, I don't know, anybody who has a driver's license. So it's pretty cheap and easy to do. Whereas in healthcare, you need, for labeling, for instance, experienced, trained, right, doctors to do this as of today. So data is a huge issue. It takes time, and we often do not get to the right amount of data to do more large-scale projects. I mean, there is one, let's say, trend evolving over the last couple of years, which is synthetic data, yeah, which looks promising, but also has some pitfalls here and there. But look, coming back to your question, I think it all starts with having partnerships. I mean, healthcare AI, maybe more than any other industries, is a pure team sport. It's a partner play. Yeah, you need to, as a vendor, for instance, you need to have the right healthcare provider partners to collaborate with you. Yeah, and for instance, provide data expertise and know-how. And there's a challenge, of course, in then preparing this data, right? Bring it together, not just aggregating it, but let's say, just looking for the English word, normalizing it, right? So that you then can build your models. But as I just talked about team sport between an AI vendor and for instance, healthcare providers, it is also, or it has to also be a team sport within an AI project team. Yeah, so you need to have the right skill sets. You need to have the right profiles, right? Data scientists, the machine learning engineer. You have to have, for instance, depending on the use case, of course, but like epidemiologists, biostatistician, healthcare IT professional who thinks about how can we deploy this later on, how do we set it up. You need domain experts, right, for your certain clinical domains. And when you have this, right, such a group with the right and broad skill set of all types of stakeholders, when you have access to data through partnerships, I think then you can achieve good things.
Absolutely. And kind of going off of that, there are so many partners in the space, so many different players, and sometimes those goals may be, at odds a bit or not quite aligned one to one. So, with that kind of in mind, to you who works in the space, what does success of AI in healthcare to you look like, kind of moving down the line?
Look, I think this is something which it has a pretty simple answer. It's at the end of the day, and I have not anything else in mind, but it's improving patient outcomes. That's ultimately it. So this is what all the technologies are, let's say, working towards. It's really improving the results for patients. And of course, there are different approaches to it, as you just said. But right, even if in those partnerships, I mean, the healthcare provider, they are interested in really making an impact to, for instance, efficiency, quality. But all this at the end of the day is improved patient outcomes.
Absolutely. And I'm glad it's a simple answer because that's all it needs to be. Anything else is, too much. So thanks for sharing that. I know you mentioned, so I always like to bring it down to the tangibles, and a lot of these conversations are very, kind of out there and hard to grasp. And so you mentioned kind of with radiology, the iSimplify tool in GE. Are there other tools, whether they be GE or non-GE, that are, AI based that have been launched and kind of used on a day-to-day basis? Currently out there? Could you share like another one?
Yeah, I mean, look, maybe just to give you one or two quick examples of AI powered technologies that we developed and that are applied in healthcare settings. I mean, one thing and maybe you in the emergency space have experienced this already. We have a mobile X-ray machine where we have put deep learning into the device. As soon as the rat tech acquires an image, for example, of the patient's chest, right on the bedside, in the OR, in the emergency room, the system can detect critical conditions and can alert you right at the point of care. This is not because I don't know, we don't trust emergency doctors, right, to detect critical conditions on a chest X-ray, but around the globe, there are a lot of settings where such a doctor is not accessible 24/7, yeah, or is far away. But let's say the emergency situation is elsewhere. And if you then have a medical imaging machine that can tell you, hey, there is a likelihood of something simple like a pneumothorax, right, and tell the rat tech, hey, or the nurse, hey, you have to do something here. That can be very beneficial. Yeah, so this is something we do. Our mobile X-ray machine can also support and detect the right placement of endotracheal tube placements, for instance. It helps with, let's say, quality. Right? Is the image? I mean, is it the right position and so on? So is it the right orientation? Those kind of things. This is what we all do with AI. Another quick example is just a recent acquisition we did. We acquired a startup based in California called Caption Health. And what they do is, very interesting use case, they help to, let's say, democratize ultrasound, which means, right, and you mentioned ultrasound earlier on, when you want to get to, I don't know, diagnostic quality ultrasound images, it requires certain training, right, and experience, which usually takes quite some time. And what Caption Health does is they, with the help of AI, guide a user, even if unexperienced, how to move the probe on the patient's body to get to diagnostic usable images. Yeah. So just two examples of many we had. By the way, when you look into FDA-approved medical imaging devices powered by AI, GE Healthcare is leading currently. So we have a lot of use cases. I just mentioned two earlier on. I mentioned a few others, but I mean, those are interesting ones, I believe, which really are going to make an impact going forward and which are not the traditional decision support examples.
Absolutely, yeah. I think both of those are super cool. Especially, I'm gonna have to advocate for my hospital to get some of those X-ray machines because, like, when you have like multiple critical patients, you're stuck in one room and like maybe you intubated a patient, and just even getting confirmation, like you're pretty sure it's the endotracheal tube in the right place, and just having maybe the tech say like, hey, this thing is confirming that as well, so you don't have to leave that other critical patient. That's something like that would be so cool. Yeah, thanks for sharing that example. And then with the ultrasound example, like as a teaching tool, that would be so amazing too, because as you mentioned, it's so hard to teach medical students, residents about ultrasound. There's only so many instructors. And so even, one instructor kind of giving this tool to a student, checking on other students or patients and coming back to that'd be a game changer.
Exactly.
So just kind of I'm a clinician, obviously. I talk with lots of other folks that have interest in technology and in blockchain, AI, and sometimes feel maybe shy or maybe like they don't have a space to talk about these kind of technologies. And I'm obviously an advocate for no, we need to understand these and talk about these technologies, how they're developing, and give our feedback and whatnot. Just from your point of view, and to maybe folks out there who may be shy, what is the role of clinicians when it comes to, in this case, AI, the development of it, us speaking about it, asking questions and whatnot?
I mean, look, you are the most important persona in all this, because in the most use cases we work on nowadays, right, as an industry, clinicians are the users of those technologies, right? Those are our target personas. Those are the ones we want to serve to help improve patient care and patient outcomes. We want to improve and simplify their processes. We want to look into quality improvements, efficiency improvements. So it's absolutely the most important persona in this, let's say, group of stakeholders. And what is really important, and I think you are a good, a real role model for this, as clinicians or healthcare professionals in general, I strongly recommend to try to be open to this kind of technology. I mean, it is difficult, I know this, right? We all know this term black box when it comes to AI. We don't really know how it works, how it comes to a specific prediction or result. And therefore, building trust with this technology is difficult. But what I strongly recommend is learning about it. Be interested and embrace it, and try to understand at least the basics of machine learning and artificial intelligence. And then when you have a chance to be involved in, for instance, a pilot project, do this, right? Go there, step in, and I think you will learn a lot during real application of such a, I don't know, technology in your settings. And then I believe the more you learn about this, the better it is, because it helps you building this trust. So therefore, as I just said, make sure, right, you read a lot, make sure you can, or if possible, attend a training course. And we actually also run educational courses. Our program is called Hello AI Professional, where we educate healthcare professionals just on the basics of AI and give real clinical examples and use cases, so that they at least understand the fundamentals. And as soon as, I don't know, the first AI-powered product enters their workspace, or, I don't know, department in the hospital, they at least know the basics. And usually those educated professionals, they embrace it more. So that's what I want to say. Learn about it, get into it. The sooner the better, and praise it.
Awesome. Perfect parting words. That was an awesome conversation. Thanks for, taking us to the high level, giving us some tangible examples and the in between. Truly appreciate your time, and thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. I really do appreciate it. I know it's the evening there, so I appreciate you dedicating some time from your evening. Thanks so much.
No worries. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Talk soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.